It was the most anticipated evening of the year. The Helix Tech annual gala, a night where the elite of the business world mingled with Hollywood celebrities, athletes, influencers, and tech giants. The red carpet was rolled out in front of the Crystal Garden Hotel in downtown Manhattan, where photographers lined up in rows, ready to snap every iconic entrance. The venue sparkled with golden lights. Violins played softly in the background, and luxury cars arrived one after another. Celebrities emerged in glittering gowns and sleek tuxedos. Billionaires waved for the cameras, models posed confidently, and the crowd roared with excitement. Then, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly pulled up to the carpet. The cameras instantly shifted. People knew what this meant. Daniel Raines had arrived, at just 38 years old. Daniel was already a legend, the visionary CEO of Helix Tech, a man whose AI and biotech innovations had reshaped the global market. He was known for his sharp mind, bold leadership, and striking looks. With perfectly styled hair, a tailored midnight blue tuxedo, and the quiet confidence of a man who had built an empire, Daniel stepped out. But within seconds, all the attention turned to the passenger door. As it opened, a tall, slender woman stepped out beside him. She moved gracefully, wearing a floor-length silver gown that shimmered like liquid moonlight under the camera flashes. Her posture was regal, her figure elegant, but her face covered. She wore a plain black mask, not the glamorous type you'd expect at a masquerade ball, but a simple, matte mask that revealed only her eyes and lips. It wasn't adorned with diamonds or feathers. Didn't look artistic or themed. It looked intentional, and immediately the buzz began. Whispers rose like smoke in the crowd. Wait, who is she? Is that Daniel Raines' wife? Why is she hiding her face? The mask became the moment. The clicks of the cameras slowed as confusion spread. People didn't know whether to be curious, concerned, or cruel. And then the comments started. First in whispers, then online, then through bold, judging voices right there on the carpet. Probably embarrassed to show her face. She must be ugly. That's why she's hiding. Imagine having all that money and still picking someone like that. Maybe she has scars. She's ruining the aesthetic. She's bad PR for Daniel. Some laughed. Others scoffed. A few influencers even began recording themselves, whispering hot takes for TikTok and YouTube. Hashtags began trending before they even entered the building. But through it all, the woman didn't flinch. She held Daniel's arm gently and walked with calm grace down the red carpet, as if none of the whispers touched her. Her heels clicked softly, her gown flowed elegantly, and her eyes, the only visible part of her face, sparkled with quiet confidence. She didn't look nervous. She didn't rush. She didn't try to explain. She simply existed, and that somehow bothered people even more. Daniel, too, didn't seem affected by the chaos. He smiled proudly, waved at the cameras, and never once let go of her hand. When a reporter leaned in to ask, "Who's the lady behind the mask?" Daniel simply replied, "My wife," and then walked inside, leaving the reporters stunned, and the crowd hungry for answers. By the time they entered the grand ballroom, photos of her had already spread across the internet like wildfire. Twitter threads, Instagram reels, Facebook posts, and gossip blogs exploded with theories. Some said she was insecure. Others claimed she was hiding a medical condition. A few even suggested she was someone else entirely, a political figure, a body double, a secret celebrity under disguise. But the loudest voiced were the meanest. Asterisk YouTubers posted reaction videos. Within hours, TikTokers mocked her in split-screen memes. One influencer joked, "Plot twist, she's not ugly. She's just allergic to clout." Asterisk, the cruelty wasn't quiet anymore. It was viral, but what no one knew was this was exactly how she planned it. She didn't wear that mask because she was ashamed. She didn't wear it because she was afraid. She wore it because she was watching, observing, studying how. Quickly people judged, how easily people mocked, how shallow the elite could be. Asterisk, while the world laughed at her. She was learning who saw past the surface. Asterisk, and what happened next. Asterisk, well, no one, not the press, not the influencers, not even the most cynical socialites, were prepared for what she would do once she removed that mask. Asterisk, by the time Daniel Raines and his masked wife entered the grand ballroom of the Crystal Garden Hotel, the internet had already exploded into chaos. Asterisk, every news outlet, blog and gossip page had one thing in common. Her photo, not Daniel, not the Gala sponsors or Hollywood megastars, but her. Asterisk, she wasn't even the headliner of the event. She hadn't spoken a word. She hadn't posed for a single photo. But it didn't matter. Asterisk, the woman in the black mask had unintentionally hijacked the entire gala, and now she was the face of a global guessing game. Asterisk, photos of her circulated at lightning speed. Twitter threads dissected her every move. Instagram zoomed in on her masked, expressionless face. YouTubers launched, "Who is she?" speculation videos with thumbnails circled in red. TikTok creators mimicked her walk, adding snarky captions and comic music. Some were funny. Most were mean. Hashtags flooded the platforms. She became the #1 trending topic within 45 minutes of stepping onto the red carpet. Asterisk, even inside the ballroom. The air felt charged with silent judgment. Waiters paused in their steps. Influencers peeked over champagne glasses. Investors whispered to their spouses. It was as if her very presence disrupted the script because people weren't used to mystery anymore. They were used to perfection, filters, and carefully crafted image control. Asterisk, but this woman, with her calm eyes and quiet grace, didn't fit in. She didn't explain herself. She didn't crave attention. Asterisk, she didn't even take off the mask. Asterisk, and somehow that infuriated people. The rumors began to spin. It didn't take long for journalists at the event to start making calls. Several well-known tabloid reporters whispered into their mics, flipping through sources. Asterisk, she's not on any public registry. One whispered, "I heard she's a recluse," said another. "She probably had an accident." Facial reconstruction. It's a thing. A stylist muttered to a friend. Asterisk, one particularly cruel report said she was once a nanny whom Daniel rescued from poverty and shame. Asterisk, and a viral gossip blog dubbed her the Phantom Bride of Silicon Valley, mocking her as a modern-day ghost bride in couture. Asterisk, no one had facts, but facts didn't matter. Speculation sold. Theories multiplied every hour. Some claimed she was battling a rare disease. Asterisk. Others said she was a Middle Eastern royal hiding her identity. Asterisk, a few insisted she was a former spy with a hidden past. Asterisk, but the loudest, ugliest voices were the ones calling her a disgrace, an embarrassment, and the ugliest billionaire wife in history. Grace under fire, but amid the buzz. There she sat, asterisk, in a velvet upholstered corner of the ballroom. Near the glass window overlooking Manhattan's skyline, she sat alone, sipping a sparkling drink. Legs crossed, back straight, eyes calm behind. The mask? She wasn't scrolling her phone. She wasn't checking reactions. Asterisk. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. Asterisk. She was simply watching, asterisk, across the ballroom. Daniel was the center of attention, shaking hands. laughing with CEOs, posing for pictures with actors and tech royalty. And yet, every few minutes, his eyes would drift across the room, checking on her. And she'd nod or smile faintly, as if to say, "I'm fine." And she was. Even as people whispered. Asterisk. Even as influencers sneakily took photos of her from across the room. Asterisk. Even as designers rolled their eyes, saying things like, "She's ruining the aesthetic of the night." Still, she didn't flinch. All eyes on her. Asterisk. It was strange. For someone who wasn't trying to stand out, she somehow drew every pair of eyes in the room. Asterisk. Perhaps it was the stillness. In a space full of ego and noise, her silence was louder than all of them. While others clung to conversations and photo ops, she was unapologetically present. Asterisk. Some found her fascinating. Others found her threatening. But no one could ignore her. Asterisk. It was like she held a mirror up to the room, exposing everyone else's insecurities, vanity, and need for validation. Asterisk. A few younger women approached her out of curiosity, only to walk away in quiet confusion when she offered nothing but a kind smile and a polite good evening. Asterisk. One even whispered, "She's like a riddle in heels." Asterisk. The truth. She was behind the mask. Asterisk. But while everyone speculated about what was behind the mask, no one bothered to ask why she wore it, because they assumed it had to be shame, or fear, or ugliness. But none of them considered that it might be choice. Asterisk. That the mask wasn't hiding her weakness, it was protecting her strength. Asterisk. While the world judged her in minutes, she was measuring them. She had walked into a room full of people obsessed with status, beauty, and perception, and shown them something far more powerful. Asterisk. Mystery, confidence, and quiet control. The internet didn't understand it. The crowd didn't deserve it. Asterisk. But she sat there in her own space, owning it. Asterisk. Because sometimes the most powerful person in the room is not the one speaking the loudest. Asterisk. But the one who says nothing at all. Asterisk. And still gets everyone to look. Just as the ballroom had started to settle into a rhythm of laughter, music, and mingling, a sudden shift swept through the crowd like a cold wind in a summer breeze. Veronica Vale had entered the chat. Figuratively and literally, the 29-year-old socialite, best known for her million-follower Instagram account, surgically enhanced looks, and a talent for creating drama where none existed, spotted her opportunity. She wasn't invited to the gala for her business acumen. She was there for clout, and right now, the mysterious masked woman sitting quietly in the corner had all of it. With a flip of her golden curls and a nudge to her mini camera crew, Veronica stormed across the ballroom, heels clicking like warning shots. She was live streaming on Instagram, mic in hand, and every step she took gathered attention. Then, with a voice polished by years of fake sincerity and self-importance, she spoke loud enough for half the ballroom to hear. "Excuse me, ... This is a fashion event, not a costume party." Gasps, murmurs. Heads turned, the music didn't stop, but the atmosphere did. Waiters froze mid-pour. Investors paused mid-toast. Influencers spun around, phones at the ready. Veronica had made her move. The masked woman looked up slowly, eyes calm, posture perfect, and said nothing. Veronica, emboldened by the attention, took a step closer. "So, tell us," she said, smirking at the camera, "what are you hiding under that mask? Or are we all just supposed to pretend your face isn't a national secret?" Her followers watching the live stream ate it up. The comment section lit up with fire emojis, laugh reactions, and mockery across the ballroom. Daniel Raines saw what was happening. He immediately excused himself from the CEO circle and began walking toward his wife, his expression unreadable. But just as he neared, his wife lifted one hand ever so gently, signaling him to stop. A silent message. "Let me handle this." Daniel froze, nodded once, and stepped back. He knew better than to doubt her. A woman who would not be shaken, Veronica leaned in. Waiting for a flustered reply, a meltdown, or an excuse, anything she could spin into content. But instead, the woman in the silver gown rose slowly from her chair, movements controlled, poised like royalty. The room grew dead silent. You could hear the chandeliers hum. People instinctively pulled out their phones. Even the waitstaff stepped back, sensing something unforgettable was about to happen. The masked woman took a slow breath. And then, for the first time that night, she spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried. "Greater than you want the truth," she said. Veronica blinked, caught off guard by the woman's calm. "Greater than a dozen people have asked tonight," the woman continued, her eyes never leaving Veronica's. Some whispered. Some laughed. Some assumed. "You decided to confront me with a camera and a crowd." She stepped forward, not aggressively, but with a kind of silent strength that makes people rethink everything. "Greater than so, yes, you'll get the truth." Ripple went through the crowd. Phones zoomed in. The Instagram live count climbed. Everyone held their breath. With absolute grace, she reached up, fingers resting for a moment on the edge of the mask. And then, in one smooth motion, she removed it. The shock that silenced everyone in the room gasped audibly. Even the most self-absorbed partygoers blinked in disbelief. Because behind that plain black mask was a face that could stop traffic, not just because of beauty, but because of a presence that couldn't be filtered or faked. Her skin was radiant, her features sharp and flawless, her expression calm, unbothered, proud, but it wasn't just beauty that stunned them. It was the way she looked at them all. Not with arrogance, not with anger, but with a knowing smile, as if she had expected this reaction and had been waiting for it. Veronica stood frozen. Her mouth moved slightly, but no words came out. Someone in the crowd whispered, "She's stunning." Another murmured, "Why would she hide that?" Someone else said, "That's confidence. You can't fake." The masked woman, now unmasked, tilted her head ever so slightly and said, gently, "Greater than you wanted to face. Now, you have it. But if you had taken the time to look at my character, you wouldn't need it." Then she turned, slowly, deliberately, and walked away from Veronica as she passed Daniel. He reached for her hand. They stood side by side, now truly seen, and Daniel placed a proud kiss on her temple. "This," he said loud enough for everyone to hear, "is Dr. Amara Raines, my wife, my partner, co-founder of our medical AI initiative, and the love of my life." The crowd erupted, not in mockery, not in gossip, but in applause. Some stood, others lowered their phones. Realizing what they had witnessed wasn't just a dramatic moment, it was a lesson in dignity. And Veronica, she quietly turned off her live stream, her face red, her spotlight gone. She was breathtaking. The mask lay forgotten in her hand, but no one looked at it anymore. All eyes were on the woman who had just turned silence into power. Under the grand chandelier light, her face was revealed, and the room saw not just beauty, but depth. High cheekbones, sculpted naturally, framed a face untouched by heavy makeup. Her smooth skin glowed with an effortless elegance, and her deep hazel eyes shimmered like pools of untold stories, the kind of eyes that made you feel seen, yet left you wondering how much more she knew. She didn't smirk. She didn't gloat. She didn't bask in the shock on everyone's faces. She simply stood tall, serene, and unapologetically herself. The silence in the ballroom was louder than any music that had played that night. Even the phones recording trembled slightly in their holders. Even the most cynical guests found themselves captivated. Unable to speak, Veronica Vale, who just moments earlier had thrown cruel words like knives, stood frozen, her mouth parted slightly, stunned. All her rehearsed lines, all her rehearsed confidence, gone. Greater than, but, she stammered, why the mask? Amara looked directly at her. No venom. No spite. Just truth. Greater than to see who judges without knowing, she said softly. But clearly. To remind people that appearance isn't everything. And to show my husband, who sees my soul, not just my face. That line didn't just touch Veronica. It pierced the room. It echoed through every corner of the ballroom and through every live stream Instagram reel and TikTok clip broadcasting the moment in real time. A few people blinked back tears. Others looked down in quiet shame. Love that needed no mask at that moment. Daniel Raines walked toward her again, slowly. With pride in every step, he reached for her hand, gently interlaced his fingers with hers, then wrapped an arm around her waist, as if to say to the entire room, "This is my everything." He leaned in, kissed her softly on the forehead, and turned toward the cameras, no longer just the billionaire CEO, but a man in awe of his wife. "This is my wife, Amara Raines," he announced proudly. PhD in neuroscience, co-founder of 2 biotech firms, and the smartest, kindest soul I've ever met. Not a single person clapped at first, not out of resistance, but out of sheer disbelief. Then, slowly, a few guests began to applaud. Quietly at first, like an apology. Then louder, stronger, until it became a standing ovation. People who had once whispered insults now clapped with red faces. Designers who had mocked her now looked at her with admiration. Even the reporters who were once ready to destroy her now stood still, unsure whether to write or simply witness. On social media, people called her the epitome of class. A modern Mona Lisa, and the woman who redefined beauty in one night. Beyond the ballroom the applause softened. Amara didn't speak again. She didn't need to. Her message had been made, without anger or revenge, without screaming or spectacle. She had done something few ever manage. She turned judgment into self-reflection, and did it with dignity. Veronica Vale, still holding her now useless microphone, quietly stepped away. Her live stream cut off. Her words silenced by truth. No viral stunt could compete with authentic grace. The rest of the night unfolded with a different tone. Strangers approached Amara just to thank her. A teenage girl shyly walked up and whispered, "You made me feel beautiful." Even a fashion designer admitted, "You just reminded us why we do what we do, to empower, not to shame." The gala was no longer about fashion or fame. It had become a night about values. The world reacts by the time the night was over. Amara's reveal had reached every corner of the internet. Clips from the confrontation flooded YouTube and TikTok. Her calm voice, her quote about judgment, Daniel's proud introduction, all of it went viral. Millions of people shared her message. Parents showed it to their kids. Teachers played it in classrooms. Women everywhere applauded the moment a brilliant woman stood tall in a room that tried to shrink her and showed the world who she really was. News anchors called it the moment of the year. Talk shows debated the symbolism of the mask. Was it social commentary, silent protest, or something deeper? But to Amara, it was simply a test the world barely passed. Legacy without the mask, the months that followed. Amara Raines became more than just Daniel's wife. She was invited to speak at conferences, offered magazine covers, which she turned down, and asked to write a book, which she finally agreed to. But she never stopped being herself. At future galas, sometimes she wore a mask, sometimes she didn't. But people finally understood. It was never about hiding. It was about revealing what really matters. And those who had once laughed, they now listened. Because Amara Raines didn't just unmask her face that night. She unmasked a society obsessed. with surfaces and reminded it what true beauty looks like: grace, intelligence, courage, and the power to be silent and still be heard. The next morning, Amara's unmasking wasn't just trending, it was everywhere. News outlets around the globe ran headlines that ranged from dramatic to admiring. The woman who taught the world a lesson in one night. Brains, beauty and boldness meet Amara Raines. How a mask revealed what eyes couldn't see. Clips of the reveal flooded social media. TikTok edits with slow motion, cinematic filters went viral. Twitter threads dissected every moment, the silence before her words, the elegance in her movements, the look of stunned regret on Veronica's face. Even fashion analysts chimed in, praising her understated silver gown and the way it symbolized grace under pressure. But beyond the headlines and memes, the world seemed to pause and reflect. Veronica Vale, the Instagram influencer and self-proclaimed queen of online drama, issued a public apology within hours. It wasn't through a PR firm or some neatly typed notes app screenshot. No, she went live on her own account, barefaced, visibly shaken. Greater than last night, I acted out of ignorance and insecurity. She admitted, Amara Raines showed more strength in one quiet moment than I have in all my years online. I judged her, and I was wrong. Some praised her accountability. Others weren't so forgiving. But one thing was clear: Amara had changed the narrative. Influencers who had laughed or whispered during the gala scrambled to delete their posts. Brands that once ignored Amara now rushed in with offers. Luxury fashion houses wanted her to model. A major publishing company proposed a memoir deal titled Unmasked: The Amara Raines Story. A global skincare brand offered her a multi-million-dollar endorsement campaign for natural confidence. But Amara politely declined them all. At a small press conference held 3 days later, no red carpet, no filters, no flashing lights. She addressed the media herself. I'm grateful for the support, but I didn't wear the mask for attention. I wore it as a mirror to reflect society's obsession with image over essence. To test the waters of judgment in a room built on status. I wore it for myself. Greater than I've spent years in labs, hospitals, and boardrooms, building things that matter. I don't need a photo shoot to validate that. Dignity isn't about how you look, it's how you carry yourself when others doubt you. Those words were quoted endlessly. They were printed on t-shirts, turned into motivational posters, and taught in school presentations. Her name was trending for days, not because of controversy, but because of conviction. Behind the spotlight, Amara quietly began her most important project yet. She launched the Unseen Yet Unshaken Foundation, a global initiative dedicated to mentoring young girls, especially from underrepresented communities. Its mission: to teach confidence, self-worth, and resilience beyond appearances. Workshops were held across schools and colleges. She brought in mental health professionals, life coaches, and even former critics who'd grown from the experience. What you see on the outside is only part of the story, she told a group of teens in one viral clip. The most powerful version of yourself isn't found in mirrors. It's forged in moments when the world tries to break you, and you choose to stand anyway. Her foundation gained momentum. Within a year, it had chapters in 12 countries, partnered with NGOs, and became a movement. Amara Raines wasn't just a symbol, she was a force, and yet, she never let the fame consume her. She still walked hand in hand with Daniel, her billionaire husband, not as an accessory to his success, but as his equal. They attended events together. Sometimes she wore the mask, sometimes she didn't. But no matter what, her head was held high. At the next Helix Tech annual gala, people waited in anticipation. Would she wear the mask again? She did. But this time, when someone asked her why, she simply smiled. Because I can. And because choice is power. As she walked into the ballroom, applause erupted. Not because of the dress, not because of the mystery, but because the room now understood they didn't see just a wife or a face behind a mask. They saw Amara Raines, the woman who taught a room full of the rich and famous the most expensive lesson of all. Greater than never judge someone by what you think you see. And that lesson. It was priceless. At the most glamorous event of the year, one woman stunned the world without saying a word. What you call a mask? A mystery? In a moment that silenced influencers, humbled a bully, and made headlines overnight. What was she hiding? And why did it leave everyone speechless? Don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss a story that will leave you speechless.